on this series of videos, I want to be very meticulous as I go along. So I hope you'll be patient with me, and as I go along, you'll find this interesting. Thanks again. Picking up where I left off last time, I think this is going to work. I'm glad I made this decision. Continuing to cut out that vacuum form fuselage, just like before, continually worked it down with both my scribing tool and my razor saw, and then my knife, and just cut it, pop it off like that. Got these rudders out of here without too much fanfare, and I'm going to wait to take this off until the very last moment where I have to. This is actually what professional painters use, and it's better. These tend to get clogged up, whereas this is porous. It's like a screen, and the dust goes through it, and they last a lot longer. And I taped it down so I'm able to use both hands and, you know, apply pressure across all the way across. And it's working, so I'm going to just, you know, continue to do that. As I work this down on here, I'm continually test fitting it. Then I have the wings just clamped together and then continually refitting that. And so I'll just keep bringing those edges down, and you can see they're starting to flatten out and smooth out until that fits on there nicely. And the same with this piece in the back here. Okay, I'm getting there. I'm pretty happy with this seam. Yeah, that technique worked pretty well. Having achieved close to the edge that I want on the edges of these fuselage halves, now I want to concentrate on the cockpit area and getting all this correct. The instructions for the kit have this cockpit piece, it looks like butting up against the bottom of that. I see, like that. So it butts up against the bottom, and that forces it forward to sit right where it needs to sit for that opening. So basically I want to recreate this styrene wall to do the same thing here. So now I have to stand this back that way, which is good. And then build this piece of styrene in there. Another thing similar to how I was using the wing and the tail piece to get the width here, same thing up here. I think I'll glue these two canopy pieces together to form that canopy, you know, like that. And then I can, you know, repeatedly test fit that in there as I go along. You know, this is the stuff I have to address next. Starting with the canopy pieces, I laid down some sticky tack on my mat, and then using the lines and a ruler, got it all straightened out, and then hit it with the ultra thin cement. And then while I waited for that to dry, I mixed a little thin and medium super glue, and then with a toothpick just filled in those corners of the doors. The rest of the door frame there I'm happy with. But I filled those in, I'll sand those down, and then those need to be more like, you know, quarter circles up in those corners. So then just started with the coarse sand sticks and then worked my way down through the fine to take out those corners, and I'll come back later and scribe them. I'm closing in on this. I think I have the canopy piece pretty close, and the sides pretty close. It may take now some sanding of that upper piece to get those to come down, but I'm liking the alignment. What I've done here is taped all this together, and to build that wall back there, I'm going to try to trace this onto sheet styrene. Then when I cut this out, that'll enable me to create that wall in there. I want this one to reinforce this, and then I may put a piece of square styrene rod in there to reinforce that from pushing together too much, because this is going to have to hold the tails. So I may do some reinforcing inside throughout with sheet styrene. So this is that back wall, and I think I have that right about there. So I think I have that right. This is the front wall, and that just fits in there, so I think I have that right. And back in there is a piece that I made to reinforce that back wall. It lines up, and even if I have slight gaps there, again, I can fill that. I'm not putting a panel line right there, so putty will work. And I'm pretty happy with the way this is meeting. That's a pretty nice seam line to then just have to clean up. Same thing on the bottom here. Now I have to trace this out. So yeah, what I'll do is just trace this on there, and then that's where I'll cut out. But it's looking, again, like the rest of this, pretty much right on. Then this nose is going to require quite a bit of work. So I've got that crack. I'll probably fill that from the inside. That is where the headlight goes, or searchlight, whatever it is up there. And then there's other things. So, and you know, this brings up a point the more I think about it. This is going to take several videos. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm at a dozen or more when I'm done, because that in and of itself is probably a video just detailing the nose. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen there. And then the same thing back here, getting all this to work, all the panel lines. Using that tracker kit as my guide, basically what I do is go about trying to recreate that cockpit area in the Falcon kit. So test fitting the cockpit with that wall, and then whittling it down, test fit again, whittle it down, test fit again. Went through probably 5 iterations of that to get that where it needed to be. So in order for this to go this way, that wall has to go up so the whole thing can shift down in there. I'm almost there. I need that front hole to be kind of over the opening, so to speak. I'm almost there. A couple more tries. And I'm not really keeping track of which side I'm putting in there, which is a good thing because it needs to be the same on both sides anyway. Then once I get it, then I'll flip it and try it both ways, if you know what I mean. Now we're getting there. Yeah, one more. Yeah, that's pretty damn good right there. So then I tested it with the other side of the fuselage as well as with the canopy, and it came out pretty good. And then took the same approach with the front wall for the front of the cockpit. Again, repeatedly test fit it until I got it to the exact right size, and then again test fit it with the fuselage. I then also taped the opposite pieces together of the two kits, the tracker and the trader kit, so that I could line up some things and take a look at things. But you can see here how that belly of the Falcon kit definitely hangs lower, and then just looking at it all around, it's definitely more bulbous and definitely more trader-like, so just kind of reaffirming my choice here. The next thing I did is lined up those openings so that I could get right on that line with my razor saw and kind of start those cuts at the appropriate spots, and then extended those lines across with my pencil to come back and cut out later. And then, you know, did the same thing on the other side, brought those two pieces together so that I could mark those out. Also, once I had them together, just comparing the two and looking at how I was going to handle the tail going forward and where I want that other piece to come into play. So that's pretty much what I got accomplished this week. Basically got the fuselages where I wanted them and got the cockpit looking good and everything lined up. So next week I'll start back in on those fuselages now and improving those and getting them to where they need to be. Until then, thanks for watching and happy modeling.